NHL Opening Faceoff, guys. So favorite DFS and sports betting plays on tonight's small 3-game slate. Favorite DFS play at center is who and why? Paul?
You know what? The top of the DK board tonight is not overpriced at the center position, so I'm going to go right to the top for Evgeny Kuznetsov at $7,500. He's got 9 points in his last 10 games. His partner in crime, Nick Backstrom, could be in the lineup tonight too. So maybe it's a case of pick your poison for the Hawks there. And I think Kuznetsov goes off with that pretty good captain that he's got running side beside him. Along with that, I go with Mika Zibanejad, priced at $6,800. You know what? Normally, we've spoken about this guy as one of the top goal scorers in the league. He's been a little light in that department, only 5 in 28 games played, but he has 16 assists as well. And I think he's got a soft matchup against Arizona tonight, so I like that price point for him. And I think the Rangers are the stack opportunity of the evening, so I'll even double down there at center with Ryan Strome for $5,800. He's partnered with Panarin, who is the must-have in your lineup tonight. Strome has 8 points in his last 10 games played and is another part of the Rangers' top offense that's going well right now. And they do have that soft matchup against Arizona that screams, stack me, so I will.
All right, who's a must roster here at this position, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a 3-game slate, and center is really, really thin, even for a 3-game slate. Paul mentioned the top options. Of those guys, I like Zibanejad as well, too. He's got 1 goal over his last 10 games. We've seen him go through these dry patches, but when Mika Zibanejad gets on fire, I mean, he really does get on fire. And I feel like this is a spot where a multi-goal game could just so easily happen against Arizona, who's still last in goals against, 4th worst penalty kill in the league. So I think if you're paying up for anyone, it's the New York Rangers top power play unit, and you start with Zibanejad. If you're going value, I like Jared McCann of the Seattle Kraken. It's a tougher matchup against Anaheim, but really, I mean, with Yanni Gordy out, McCann's going to get a ton of usage there as well, just with the top power play. So 2 power plays I like to stack there, or two top lines, you could say, and you start at center with Zibanejad and McCann.
All right, AJ, talk to me, dude.
Well, let's make it 3 for 3 on the Zibanejad love at 6,800. I agree with these guys. I think the Rangers are a great stack tonight. You talk about, the back end side here. In December, Arizona is allowing a league worst 4.75 goals per game. So really, this is the matchup to target. As Jeff said, Z just 1 goal in his last 17 games, but he's got 10 helpers over that stretch, and he's averaging about 2.5 shots per game as well. So the fact that he's firing the shots, he's getting, the top power play minutes, all the reasons that Jeff outlined there, I think this is a perfect opportunity playing against Arizona for him to break out and get back on the score sheet here.
Ulrich, favorite DFS play at wing? Share it with me.
Yeah, so again, I mean, it's a 3-game slate. I'm fine just paying up for Alex Ovechkin. There's just so much value, and even paying up for Mika Zibanejad costs you less than $7,000. So Alex Ovechkin at $9,700, I mean, it looks ridiculously expensive. And Chicago's played okay defensively over the last little bit, but I mean, this is just a player I just think you should get a piece of tonight because it's so easy to find value at all the different positions. And look, I mean, we need to talk a little bit about game theory here because we're obviously all on the same plays, and a lot of people are going to be on the same plays we're talking about. The Arizona Coyotes, Clayton Keller, 4,000. If you want to get a little bit different for like a kind of a mini stack to throw in your GPP lineups, Keller's averaging about a point per game. If we like the Rangers to score some goals, maybe this game devolves into a shootout. I'm not suggesting the Coyotes are necessarily going to win, but they could certainly score 3 or 4 goals here if that happens. They are at home. I think Keller is a good way to start if you're looking for some kind of contrarian Arizona stack.
AJ, hook me up, dude.
Yeah, man, Jeff's right. I think we are going to end up in similar spots here. I like Ovi as well, 9,700. Look, I know it's 2,100 more than the next closest guy at Patty Kane. But you look at his numbers this year, the grade 8 has 14 multi-point games. That's half of the games he's played this year. He's only been held off the score sheet 5 times. And I just can't convince myself that fading him will work out tonight. That generally would be my strategy. With how high he is compared to the next closest winger, limited slate. I like Jeff's, Clayton Keller recommendation if you want to go more contrarian, but I just can't convince myself that fading Ovi is the right play tonight.
Okay, Jeff, what's the right play at wing?
Paul, you mean?
Paul. Sorry. Had a brain fart. You guys look the same.
Nobody's mentioned Artemi Panarin. I will throw his name into the mix. He's the cornerstone of my Rangers stack, actually. He's got 14 points his last 10 games played. 27 shots on goal as well. He's going to cost only $7,300. If you want to fade Ovechkin, this is the guy you better target. But I would like to try and find a way to get both of them in. And one way to do that is find cheap wingers value, and TJ Oshie fits that bill. He's been back for 4 games, only got 2 points along that way, and he's only priced at $4,600. But he may get his regular center back tonight as Nick Backstrom looks to get back in the lineup with the Caps. So that should boost his production. And he's a driver of that scoring line, and he'll also play high leverage minutes. That's a lot for $4,600, so he's definitely going to fit into my lineup.
AJ, who you fitting into your lineup back on the blue line?
Well, full disclosure here, Emerson, I'm completely punting on D tonight. I love too many of these wingers up top. I think you can figure out how to get Kuznetsov and OV in. That's not cheap if you want multiple shares of the top line for the Rangers. And so what I did is I found 2 guys at the min 25K price that are on Washington and New York, because I think those are the teams most likely to put up points tonight. So that means I've got Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Leiber Hayek. I think maybe you get an assist from one of those 2 guys, just because those teams, like I said, I expect to put up the most points tonight. But yeah, I'm punting hard on D tonight just because I love so many of these other forward stacks.
Wow, Jeff, that sounds like you every day, punting on the defenseman.
Just punting on life, just in general. I actually like the other strategy tonight. So I guess AJ and I definitely look at this a little bit differently. But I think if you're going with the New York Rangers stack, I think Adam Fox is an absolute must. I mean, the Arizona Coyotes down their best defender and Jacob Chychrun as well, and they have just like a bottom 5 penalty kill, and they've had it all year. I think that if you're going with New York, you really got to stack up on their big guns. And I mean, Adam Fox, definitely like a top 3 fantasy play. So that's someone I'd be very interested in paying up for. But there are some decent value options as well. I mean, you could throw a guy like Justin Scholz in that mix, maybe like Gustafson from Chicago as well if you're taking the punt route, or maybe you just pay up for one guy. But Adam Fox, to me, again, if you're playing like the big players from the Rangers, Kreider, and say you're going to stack Kreider and Zibanejad, I would really throw Adam Fox in there, because there's a good chance that if those guys go off, he ends up with a couple points as well.
Paul, you got to respect the dudes on defense.
You do, and so I'm not going to completely punt on it. And I think I agree with Jeff. You got to get a Ranger defenseman in there. For me, I've been on Jacob Trouba for the last couple of weeks, and look at his box scores every game, and he's really been productive and consistent. $5,800 the price tag, 7 points in his last 10 games, 32 shots and blocked shots rather, and 20 shots on goal in that stretch. He's doing it all everywhere, and so that's great value for that price point. If you want to save a little bit of money, go to Dmitry Orlov. He's the number 2 guy in Washington in the pecking order on the blue line, being productive himself with 7 points, 20 shots on goal in his last 10 games, and I think the Caps are going to roll. So what was said earlier about the Ranger offense, you hope for an assist here, and that will be great value on the Orlov price tag.
Well, speaking of value, Jeff, what do you do here on a 3-game slate for value?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've talked about numerous plays, but I really like going to the Kraken. I mean, I mentioned Jared McCann already, but like pairing him with Jaden Schwartz, it just makes too much sense. And I get that, like Anaheim, we need to give them credit, man. They haven't just been playing, everyone wants to talk about their kind of good offensive players and Trevor Zegras and things like that. But like defensively, they haven't exactly been a pushover either. So I don't even think the Kraken are going to be highly owned here, but you've got a situation where, Yanni Gourde is out. It's really condensed in terms of usage on the top power play unit. Schwartz and McCann are going to play together. You could throw in Jordan Eberle, who's in a cold streak, but Eberle is easily capable of a multi-point night just on any slate. He's talented enough to do that. I like stacking the entire Kraken top line for value if you're looking there. And again, I don't think they're going to be super highly owned even on a 3-game slate. So the Kraken, a team we haven't talked about too much, but I really like their top line here.
Okay, AJ.
I'm going to go with Backstrom tonight at 4K, coming in off that injury, which I think will scare a few people maybe off of him tonight, lower that drafted percentage there. All signs point to him linking up with the number 1 power play unit, which means he'll get big minutes with Ovi, Kuznetsov, and Carlson. And I think this is a great spot to use a guy that generally I think 4K would be undervalued for him if he had been playing, obviously. And I expect him to just jump in, no problem here. And then you'll have, a guy that's got a discounted drafted percentage tonight as well.
Paul, who's your favorite value play tonight?
Well, I'm looking at the Anaheim Ducks as a value play. You stack one of the other two teams we talked about, Washington or New York. The other stack has to be Anaheim for me. Troy Terry's price has dropped to only $4,300, despite the fact that he has 17 goals and 11 assists in 28 games. That's pretty good production and a great price point. He's not cooled down too much. He's got 5 goals his last 10, still averaging over 2.5 shots a game, and he gets a nice matchup against a Seattle club that played last night. And Cam Fowler on the blue line for the Ducks, similarly a good value, same opponent. He's one of their top power play quarterback choices, and though he has only 3 points in his last 10 games, he's been a consistent part of their offense all season long, and he adds value by playing better than a block a game as well in terms of producing DK points, not just on the offensive end of the ice. We also talked about Jared McCann. I like that pick as well. He's fulfilled my prediction that he's become a key part of the Kraken offense, has 11 goals in 23 games played, comes in at a very strong value when he's only priced at $3,600. So there's a way to get the big boys in if you fit some of these cheapies in too.
Paul, let's wrap it up with your best bet on the DK Sportsbook for tonight's 3-game NHL slate.
I will find a value on each of those games for you, Emerson. Anaheim, minus 150 versus a Seattle club that played on the second of back-to-backs. As I said, I really believe in the Ducks tonight and have no problem taking that bet. I also like the Rangers, minus 1.5 at plus 115 on the puck line tonight in Arizona. Should be an easy win there. And I go for the trifecta. I like the Hawks and Caps to top the 5.5 total tonight, largely on the strength of the Caps offense, which may get an added boost with the return of the aforementioned Nick Backstrom.
All right, AJ.
I'm going to look at the Rangers to cover the puck line. It's plus 115. I think it's decent value for that matchup. I mentioned how many goals the Coyotes have been allowing every game. I actually don't hate the over in that one. It's sitting at 5.5. You can get minus 110 as well. So I'm going heavy with the Rangers on DFS. Going to go heavy with them on the DK Sportsbook as well.
And we wrap it up with your best DK Sportsbook play in the NHL tonight, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I actually like going with the over in that Rangers-Coyotes game more than taking like just the Rangers on the puck line or something. Yeah, AJ mentioned how many goals the Coyotes are letting in, but we also might get a Keith Kincaid sighting on the Rangers tonight in net, and it's not like Alex Georgiev is like akin to having a bad game here or there. He certainly didn't have a great game his last time out, so I like the over in that game. And I also like the Hawks on the money line. They've been playing a bit better. They're rested. They actually haven't lost 2 games in a row since early November, so I kind of like the Hawks on the money line as well.